Hi, this is Toby, and today I'll be showing you top 10 cacti succulents for beginners and amateurs. So in this video, we'll be looking at 5 genus of cacti and 5 genus of succulents, which I believe are good for beginners and amateurs. Now the list will be in no particular order, and they will be just naming 5 genus of cacti and succulents you should consider if you're just starting out with the hobby. Now the first genus that I would like to talk about is Echeveria. And Echeveria is a great beginner's plant, and sometimes people keep them indoors and keep them outdoors. As long as they get enough light, they'll look really well and they'll perform really well for you. And even if they do rot from unfavorable conditions, you can save them easily. They can be grown from cuttings really easily, and if taken care of correctly, it'll get these nice little flowers on them. I apologize for a bit of the mealybug there. I haven't had time to clean it up, but I will. And sometimes with some of these little succulents and cacti, they may have something, I think it's called farina or whatever they call it. It's this little dusty thing on them, and if you touch it, it comes off and it never comes back. So you be careful not to touch them. But overall, Echeverias are a great beginner's plants, and you can propagate them easily. And I'll show you one that I propagated off of this plant. This is one that I propagated off of that plant, and you can see it looks exactly the same, and it was just growing from a leaf cutting. So if your friends want some, you just give them a leaf and they can try propagating themselves. So it's a fun little succulent to have if you're just starting out. The next genus that I'll be talking about is Opuntia. Now Opuntia is often seen as the prickly pear cactus, and you need to be aware that in some parts of the world, for example here in Australia, they're an invasive species, as they tend to get out of control. So don't plant them in the ground in masses because they all cause problems. But if you keep them in pots, they're a nice little beginner's plant. They don't really die. I have another one here that I just keep up there, a little nice little variegated one, and these are very attractive. You can see stereotypical cacti shape, and watering very easy once a week, and they can tolerate a bit more water. They don't rot that easily, and again you can propagate just by pulling a pad off and rooting it in some soil. The next genus of succulent that I'll be talking about is Euphorbia. Now I have mentioned Euphorbia or made a video of Euphorbia in my previous video, which is the first video of the series. So if you haven't checked it out, I'll link it in the description below. But Euphorbia is such a wide range of plants. You've got ones that look like cacti, ones that look like succulents, some look like trees, some just look like little shrubs. But there's such a wide range to choose from. For example, this is also Euphorbia. Euphorbia Flanagani. This is Euphorbia, I can't remember the name. I'll see what it says here. Euphorbia Bulgaria, and this is Euphorbia X Japonica hybrid. So there's so many different Euphorbias you can choose from. I have some in the greenhouse here. Euphorbia milli. This is Euphorbia milli. Sorry, this is Euphorbia turicale, and this is Euphorbia obesa. So there's a bunch of Euphorbia you can choose from. There's some cortex growing ones as well, and each of them will have different care requirements, but most of them are pretty easy to care for. So if you do get a Euphorbia, do check what type it is and search up how to care for them, because as you can see, the genus is quite diverse. The shape of the plants are very different, and so are the growing conditions, but overall they are not hard to care for. But one thing you do need to remember with Euphorbia is that if you damage the plant, the white milky sap that comes out is poisonous, and do not get it into your eyes, as it can damage your eyes. So that's one thing to be careful of, but other than that, they're a great plant for beginners. The next genus of cacti that I'll be talking about is Gymnocalycium. Now Gymnocalycium are great beginners cacti, and you can see I have a bunch of them here. They flower at a very small age. You can see with this plant it's already developing flowers, and if I put my hand next to it, you can see how small it is. So you don't have to wait forever to get flowers. Just a couple of, if you've bought one around this size and you wait for around 2 or 3 years, most likely it'll already flower for you. So, and they do keep their shape for a long time. If you can see, that's Gymnocalycium mihanovichii, what they call the chin cactus, I'm pretty sure, and I've had that for a long time. I've still got that round shape, and it still flowers. You can see flowers nicely, and they're just generally a nice plant to have. Very easy to care for. You water around once a week, give it some good draining soil and light, and they'll do really well. And especially for the beginners, they can tolerate some mistreatment, so you don't have to worry about that. You see, I've accidentally scorched this, but it doesn't die. It just grew back, and it will still flower. It'll flower a lot, and it's one of those cacti that you want to get if you just want to see the flowers, because they flower really easily, and again at a small age as well. So you don't have to wait forever to get flowers. Now the next genus of succulents is Haworthia. Again, I have made a video on Haworthia, and any other plant I talk about, I made a video. I link it in the description below. But Haworthia is another great beginner succulent. They're sometimes seen as indoor plants as well, and they don't need full sun. They require partial shade, as you don't want to burn them. But they're also great beginners plant. You can see this one here. It looks really attractive, especially if you're just starting out. You've got one or two plants. Having one of these will make it look really nice. We've also got the window plants. They're also Haworthias, and they do flower as well. Now, although I showed you this flower stalk, it kind of fell off. I don't know why, but again, they will flower. And if your friend wants one as well, and you've got offsets from your plant, you can always remove one and propagate it. So they're very easy to propagate. You water around once a week as well with these. Give a good draining mix. As with all succulents and cacti, you should give them a well-drained soil, and they basically won't die for you. So these are very easy to care for. If you're still a beginner and you're unsure what to get, do consider a Haworthia. The next genus of cacti that I'll be talking about is Epiphyllum. Now you might be wondering, is this even a cacti? And yes, it is. It contains areoles, and the flower shapes are of cacti. Now, what are areoles, you might ask? Or areoles? You see the fuzzy part where the spines come out? Or the fuzzy part where new growth comes out, you can see down there. That is only unique to cacti, and all cacti have that. If your plant does not have that, it is not a cactus. You see with most of these cacti, there's areoles with the Astrophytum, the Gymnocalycium. You have the areoles, the fuzzy part where the spines come out, new growths. You can also grow flowers as well. So that's what areoles are. It's present with all cacti. If I go to something like a Euphorbia, you can see it's not present, so it's not a cactus. So these are cacti, and these are very easy to care for, and they can tolerate a bit more watering than your desert cacti, and they won't rot as easily for you. So if you're a beginner, that's pretty good, you know, because some people tend to overwater their plants, and with Epiphyllum, it's hard to overwater. However, in winter, you have to be careful about the cold. They can tolerate some cold temperatures, but the best sign to see they're too cold or not is the tips will start to go black, and that shows it's cold damage. You need to move it in. But if you keep these guys alive for a couple of years, they will reward you with a big flower. And although some species like the Oxypetalum only lasts for a night, you got these hybrids with different colors, and that's just a general range you guys can get. And online they sell them as cuttings. They propagate really easily from cuttings. So if I cut this off, I put it in soil, it will grow. And these I got from cuttings as well. So with this, and that is also grown from cuttings. So very easy to propagate, easy to care for. And again, if your friends want a plant, you can just give them a cutting and it'll grow well for them. Next genus of succulents that I'll be talking about is Gasteria. Now Gasteria is also a great beginner's plant, and the care conditions are pretty similar to Haworthia. There are also hybrids between them, and you see this is just a Gasteria here that I've had for a long time. Very nice, and they tend to clump as well. I don't know why this one hasn't clumped. I think it's because every time you try clumping, scale gets to each little offsets. But if yours is healthy and it clumps, again, you give these to your friends. You just separate them and they'll propagate very easily, and they will produce nice flowers. If I can show you this, these are very beautiful flowers. Haven't opened yet. It's about. You can see this one's about to open, and they do last quite a long time because you get like a whole row of these. You see, they'll start flowering like that and it'll gradually go to the end. Same with these. So, very rewarding, very easy to care for. Again, just water around once a week. Nothing too hard with these, good draining soil. And again, don't put them in full sun because they could burn. So, that's why I'm keeping it here in the shade. And sometimes they are seen as indoor plants, but if you do grow them indoors, make sure they do get enough sun. So, yeah, and they're not really susceptible to any diseases, sometimes scale, but they're very easy to care for overall. Now the next genus of cacti that I'll be talking about is Echinocactus or Echinocactus, and these are commonly seen as a golden barrel cactus, and their first flowering may be in 20 or 30 years, so if you're growing it, don't expect to see the flowers straight away. They have to be a big barrel before they can flower, but when growing these do add something special to your collection. They'll grow really big, so if you're a beginner and you want a really big plant or one that gets big over time, do consider Echinocactus. Again, watering around once a week, and they do tolerate a bit of mistreatment. I've accidentally put these with, I've accidentally let scale bite this, not scale, mealybug, and it's bounced back, so very tolerable. You can see spines are a great color, and with these are just Echinocactus grussonia. You got other Echinocactus. This is Platyacanthus, and they'll get even bigger. And there's different types you can choose from. There's even Echinocactus grussonia cultivars, which is this one with a short curved spine. So there are different types, and they're a great beginner's plant because they're easy to care for. And if you want a large appearance over time, do consider Echinocactus. Now the last genus of succulents that I'll be talking about is Adenium. Adenium is what they commonly see as desert rose, Adenium obesum. There's also other types such as Adenium arabicum, but these are deciduous, or if you keep them dry in winter, they're deciduous, and they are a succulent, and they're what they usually call a pachycole, which is a swollen stem, if you can see from here. Sometimes people refer to them as cordexes, but they're really just a swollen stem. And they have really nice flowers. I'll put a picture of Adenium flowers on right now, and you can see how nice they look. And even some cultivars have double petals, which means there's 2 rings of petals, and it looks like rose. And I consider them to look better than roses, and they're much more interesting, and they're very easy to care for, easy to grow from seed. I'll show you my little seedlings, and I've also made a video on that, which I'll link below. These are my little seedlings. You can see, look how nice they look. Very, very resilient. This one, the top died over winter. I had to cut it off, and you can see it's already starting to bud back. So these are very, very resilient succulents. You can make them into bonsai. You can do whatever you want with them. They most likely won't die for you. Again, watering once a week, and keep dry in winter, and they'll lose their leaves, but in spring they'll come up with the nice flowers if they're old enough to flower, and they look really nice. And if you do get your hands on seeds, do try sowing them from seed, as I find it's really easy to grow from seed. Germination rate is usually high and pretty quick, and care for them, just good draining soil once a week with water, as with most things. And yeah, very easy to care for and very rewarding if you're a beginner. The last genus of cacti that I'll be talking about is Echinopsis. Echinopsis is also another wide range of plants, and the family is pretty diverse, and you get different shapes. This is a hybrid, but with Echinopsis, before it was classified into 3 species, it was Echinopsis, Trichosarius, and Labivia. Now Labivia are usually the smaller growing ones. Echinopsis are the round ones, such as that one. That's a bit old, but when it was young, it would be in a little round plant. And this one is just one I got from someone else, and apparently it's 20 something years old, so that's why it looks like that. And Trichosarius is the tall pillar ones, which is this one, Echinopsis pachnoi, or what they usually call Trichosarius pachnoi. And these are very easy to care for plants, and depending on what you want, there are a wide range available. You can get tall ones, the tall pillar ones, and they do grow much faster than your other tall pillar species such as Carnegie giganteus saguaro or Pachysarius pringlei. These do grow really fast, and if you want flowers, you can go for the Labivia or just the Echinopsis. They have really showy flowers. So if you want different characteristics, do check out what Echinopsis you want, and it'll make your collection quite unique. And depending on what species or what they used to be called, you can get different shapes. So again, the pillar ones and the round ones, and they're usually all really easy to care for. Just water around once a week and well draining soil, and they will flower. I'll put a picture of the flowers on now, and you can see they have really showy flowers. Even with the tall pillar ones, if they reach flowering age or size, they will throw out really big nice flowers. So that's something extra if you're looking for that. So thank you for watching this video, taking a quick look at top 10 cacti succulents for beginners. Now I know I did not explain these in depth a lot, and although some of them I've made videos on them already, I'll make more videos about them in the future. And if you have any questions, please comment them in the comment sections below. So thank you for watching this video. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.